Now to Washington and the Trump transition. While the president-elect's flurry of administration picks appear to have slowed, the ripple effects of some of his choices are still being felt on Capitol Hill. I want to bring in Joel Payne and Leslie Sanchez for more analysis. Joel is the Chief Communications Officer for Move On and a CBS News political contributor. And Leslie is a Republican strategist and CBS News political analyst. Thanks so much for joining us. Leslie, I'd like to start with you. Now, Donald Trump had a goal of naming all of his major appointments by Thanksgiving, and he's achieved that. How do you assess how he's rolled out his cabinet selections and the names that he's chosen?
You know, for many, they feel that this was a long time coming. People had been anticipating if there was a second go around, if the president had the privilege of serving again, or the former president to serve again as president, he would have a much better understanding of the direction he wanted to go in. And I think the proof is there. Not only did he have a very strong bench that was already vetted, kind of conceivably understanding his direction, his authority, and what he wants to do with the new Congress, I think he's really moved forward with those names at such a rapid pace that people weren't expecting him to really hit the ground running. But I think that's a telltale of what to anticipate in the new Congress. People get their running shoes on because it is going to be highly disruptive in the state of how government traditionally works and unorthodox in some senses. But everyone is moving together with a particular mission for this president, and I think you see that already.
And Joel, speaking of disruptive, there's a lot of outsiders here and a lot of loyalists. How are Democrats feeling about the new cabinet?
Well, I agree with Leslie's point that Trump certainly has a better idea of what direction he wants to go in this time than he did 8 years ago. But it's just where that direction is, which is chaos and disorder and division. I think that these picks reflect a pugilistic president who wants to fight from day one. And while that might be the instinct, given the fact that he beat expectations by many on Election Day a few weeks ago, I don't think that that's why the American people sent him to Washington, D.C. to put unqualified people in positions to do things that are unpopular, whether it's wind down things like the Department of Education, like that nominee will be tasked to do, or someone like Pete Hegseth, who is wholly unqualified to oversee 3 million people who are responsible for keeping us safe. But that's what Donald Trump's determined to do because he's going to read his mandate as being one to destroy things, to break things apart, and to create chaos in Washington, D.C. And that is certainly a choice that he's willing to, he's free to make. I don't think that that's a long-term bet that's going to be good for him or for Republicans.
Joel, there has been... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I think it's fair to respond to my very good friend Joel and coming to the end of this, starting our new year and thinking about that. I would read that completely differently. I think the mandate the president has is that the people have spoken. They want accountability. They want government responsibility, get rid of the waste. And to do that on structures that are so calcified requires a very different approach. And he wasn't successful in some of those things last go around. So it's a different type of approach, which is why I'm saying everything from bringing in more accountability focus, looking at realignment of some of these federal agencies, looking at removing, billions of dollars of waste is going to take a different angle. And it's a tremendous amount of support. And the people will continue to give their opinion on and grading the president. But I think he started off extremely well.
And jumping off from that point now, Joel, there has been nothing but finger pointing about why Vice President Harris lost. We've heard from her and some of her campaign staff this week. But in your view, what went wrong there?
Yeah, just one thing finally, just to complete on that point that Leslie and I were just talking about. If that billions of dollars in alleged cleanup of waste goes into the pockets of people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump's other rich friends, I don't think that that mandate is going to stand the test of time. But Leslie and I have plenty of time over the next 4 years to argue about that. To the point about the Democratic Party, I did get a chance to see that interview that you're referring to related to the Harris campaign leadership and how they talked about their loss. I'd like to say this, and I've said this in other formats, nobody sounds particularly smart or particularly poetic when they're talking about a loss on the scale that the Harris campaign suffered. And so I wouldn't hold those folks unreasonably accountable for sounding anything but defeated and a little disappointed. I do think that they made some good points about advantages that Republicans have built in and some of the disadvantages that Kamala Harris had built in. These are really smart, talented people. The Democrats' problem is not Kamala Harris. It's not candidate specific. It is about how do we have a long-term conversation with the American people that welcomes them into the Democratic Party and helps them understand that the ideas that we have for them actually work to their benefit? And that is a challenge that every elected Democratic office holder and every prospective elected Democratic office holder is going to have to wrestle with between now and the next election days in 2025, 2026, and beyond.
And Leslie, I want to hear your thoughts on this. When you see what's happening with the Democratic Party right now, do Republicans see some opportunities here? Can they leverage that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is the start of where you could argue in the middle of a political realignment. The country is moving in different directions, voting in non-traditional ways. And what you saw was a big section of this country, working class, Latino, African American, just kind of working class voters who left the Democratic Party and moved to the Republican one. Are they going to stay there permanently? No. Is it a fluid effort? Absolutely. Both have to earn these votes. And it's not just that. You could go down women and married women, rural areas. And the dynamic and political map is changing. Republicans are seizing on that opportunity, but it really is delivering on these promises, closing the border, bringing prices down. Can the president, and will he be graded on that? He can do it. He's going to be graded on it. And it's an opportunity, certainly, for Republicans to see these continuous supporters align more permanently with the Republican Party.
All right, we'll have a lot more to talk about in the coming weeks. Joel Payne, Leslie Sanchez, thanks so much for joining us.